I haven't checked UNRWA's activity regarding or the extracurricular activity in UNRWA schools. I checked books only. The books themselves do not call openly to killing Jews or destroying the state of Israel. That is done maybe in class by the teacher, but not in the books. The books simply delegitimize Israel, demonize Israel and the Jews, delegitimize the very presence of Jews in the country, and total denial of the existence of holy places, places holy to Jews, and Palestine replaces Israel on the map and in many other texts. And the bottom line is that Israel is an occupying entity beginning in 1948, which should be removed by armed or violent struggle for liberation of Palestine. And the student is taught and is educated to be part of that struggle.
And I hear your speech, you say that UNRWA belongs to the United Nations.
Yeah, it does. It does, but well, maybe the United Nations themselves are not really pro-peace as we think so. Open incitement against Jews is done in the higher grades, where UNRWA educates students from grade 1 to grade 9. So the incitement is implicit, not explicit in UNRWA's book. But if you delegitimize the other party to the conflict and say that it doesn't have any rights and anything to any connection to the country, and he is a foreign occupier that must go, beginning in 1948, and that the Palestinians are the only victims and should liberate the country, well, this is implicit incitement, I think. UNRWA educates, UNRWA's education activity started in 1950, I think. Now, it educates children, Palestinian children in Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and the registered so-called refugees in West Bank and Gaza, and even in Jerusalem. Now, if we take into consideration that the children population in the 50s was, let's say, 200 among 600,000 refugees, and then every decade we see more, 50,000 children more. So all in all, 7 decades, we have about 2 million. So this is the contribution, in my opinion. This is UNRWA's contribution to the perpetuation of the conflict.
We are at the World Zionist Organization, which has set up a new project to not only monitor anti-Semitism, but to combat anti-Semitism. As a result, what our agency is doing is bringing experts on Palestinian Authority and UNRWA anti-Semitism to the general public. For the first time, we've had all the school books translated into proper Hebrew for every aspect of Israeli society to see. And what's very important to understand is that only a year ago, the government, the representatives of the State Department met with our agency and said, we have gone through the school books, they're fine, there's no problem anymore. When we checked over here in Israel, we found that the representatives of the United States never looked at the school books, and we purchased all 240 school books, and we had them translated.
Give me an example.
The school books we have here is the most important thing is all Israeli cities are replaced by Palestinian cities. The whole purpose of life repeated over and over and over again from kindergarten to ninth grade. That's what we checked over and over. Right of return through the armed struggle. Right of return through the armed struggle. Take your homes back. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. It's drummed into the children. In an indoctrination, which is what most people do not understand. People think you go to school, you're going to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. Everything's going to be fine, except things aren't fine. And our job here is to blow away the myth that there's been a change in education, and there's been all kinds of new books but the new books continue the same spirit. And again, when we went to Washington, the American government put out again the myth that the school books have been changed and there's no problem anymore. So we bring Dr. Gross, Dr. Arnon Gross, who's translated the books, after we purchased them with the permission of the PA and UNRWA.
There's empirical evidence to suggest that when messages of hate, demonization, and demonization of the other increase, and they are directed to a certain population, in this case, let's say, messages describing Jews and Israelis in Palestinian schools, social media, mosques, and the like. When these messages increase, we can expect an increased susceptibility to violence. We have a term for that. It comes from Rwanda. It's called heating up the heads. When we heat up the heads, it's easier to pop the popcorn. Government has a central responsibility in defining policy and actions and behaviors. There's no question about it. And what governments do has a very, very heavy influence on such norms and behavior, especially when we're talking about the fact that governments either strongly control or determine or monitor what goes on in mass communications, the press, the schools, and social media. So government has a very central responsibility.